Hello everyone. In this episode, we're going to break down Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Jumping right in, throughout a lot of the previous films, the MCU intro has changed quite a bit, mainly for whatever film we're watching. And keeping up with that trend, this intro now has a bunch of more scenes of just Doctor Strange and Wanda, including scenes from WandaVision. As we get into the movie, it's pretty clear that Defender Strange sounds exactly like our Doctor Strange, with even these callbacks to Iron Man's sacrifice in Endgame, often questioning if it was truly the right choice, which is later backed up by his old co-worker, really kind of driving it home and questioning Steven at the wedding, just asking him if there really wasn't any other way. Defender Strange even quotes Doctor Strange talking about the grand calculus of the multiverse, just kind of starting off the film reminding us that Strange will do almost anything to protect the universe, no matter who has to go out along the way, just kind of showing how he is a more stern character when it comes to these things. And we meet America Chavez, and we basically just dive straight into her character. It was a little hard to spot, but her jacket actually says love is love, just kind of further supporting her parents in their love, which, come to find out, a lot of places around the world actually wanted Marvel to remove that scene, which thankfully Marvel didn't give in because it was only 10 seconds and it is not that big of a deal. And now from this point forward, any dream sequences that we see in the MCU are pretty much other universes. This gives us a whole new way to look back at what Iron Man said back in Infinity War about having a dream that him and Pepper were going to have a daughter. And talking about that wedding scene, when Strange jumps into action, is really clever, but his pocket square was actually the cloak. That's how he easily does this spin move and immediately just throws it around, which is really cool, seeing that it can kind of manipulate its shape and size as well, so he can always have it on him. As he changes, we're introduced to Gargantos, one of the villains to Namor, who we will most likely see in the upcoming Black Panther sequel, hence why we didn't see him in this film. There's a callback to the recent events in Spider-Man No Way Home, which is kind of surprising considering Doctor Strange was originally going to come out before, so pretty cool to see that they worked around that. And now the nature of Wanda's powers are a little more explained, kind of pointing out that witchcraft and sorcery are not the same thing, although a lot of the things that they do are similar. Although we didn't see Vision anywhere in this movie, we get a few slight references to him and like his theories about the multiverse and stuff. And we'll most likely see him again in the Disney Plus show Armor Wars, and that might just be what they were saving him for, and just to kind of keep the focus on Wanda. There's also a few more references to the Avengers, like Hawkeye and other bug-themed heroes, like Spider-Man, Ant-Man, and the Wasp. And it's clear that Wanda's suit has been heavily adjusted since WandaVision, giving it more darker tones and sleeves to look a little more villainous. Even her crown is a bit larger and sharper along her face. And then we meet a few new characters and returning ones. The man that Strange mistook for the ancient one from the first film returns in the background. We're also introduced to Sarah, who I believe was going to be Wong's love interest in the film, but was ultimately cut out. And if you're wondering who the massive Minotaur is that we never really get to see much of, his name is Rintrah, who also had scenes cut. So both of these characters potentially could have had more supporting roles in the film. I really liked how Wanda got into the mind of one of the sorcerers to break through their defenses. It was a nice callback to the first time we saw her in Avengers Age of Ultron, where she messes with all of the Avengers' minds. And while it's no secret that director Sam Raimi slips in some of his classic horror shots, it was really interesting to see him create a similar scene to The Ring, with Wanda crawling out of the gong really stiffly. And there are a lot of connections to the animated show What If. The first one being Strange's serpent hand, and the more obvious cameo made by Captain Carter, who also has the same uniform as her animated counterpart. But considering that show is already coming back for a season 2, and it set up more plot points with her, it doesn't seem like they are the exact same character. Tumbling through the different universes, we see so much, so we'll kind of go through it quickly. We see the MCU's version of the Living Tribunal, one of the most powerful enforcers from the comics, who was referenced within the first film back in 2016 by Mordo. Another universe seems to be nothing but a world ran by gigantic bees, followed by a world covered in water. Following that is a taxi sign that references Grindhouse Releasing, which is an editing company that worked on this film. In the next universe, there's Stark drones seen all over, just like from Far From Home. Maybe a world that Mysterio ended up taking over, or even a superior Iron Man based on the color scheme. A Hellacious type universe can be seen next, made out of bones, potentially being an afterlife similar to Hell. There's a world where dinosaurs didn't go extinct, possibly known as the Savage Lands, which is featured heavily in the X-Men comics, which would make sense considering the cameos we see. An animated reality now proving that characters within the MCU can be both live action and animated, setting up the reveal later of Professor X, which is from, or at least is based off, his counterpart from the X-Men 97 series. This could also set up potential crossovers with the animated Spider-Man films. There's a world that seems to be covered in the wreckage of a plane crash, followed up by one that is made of cubes, resembling a popular design from the House of M comics. A universe where everything is made up of different colored paint that America has apparently visited before, and does not recommend going back to. An older film type setting that a lot of people, including myself, originally thought to be the home of Spider-Man Noir, which could still be true considering the director's history with the Spider-Man trilogy and other references to him within this film. Even the next one could be a reference to Spider-Man 2099 with how futuristic it looks. A universe filled with pyramids infused with technology, along with another more clean-looking future setting. There's a world that has a lot of rocky terrain covered with lava, potentially referencing Mustafar from Star Wars. And then finally we end up in Earth 838, where we stay for the majority of the film. On this planet, a lot of the surrounding has greenery and plants incorporated into the designs, giving off a more peaceful and superior world compared to our own. This could be due to Fantastic Four member Reed Richards, since he is the smartest man alive and clearly has advanced tech by his entrance to that teleporter. This could be taken as confirmation that the old Avengers Tower that was remodeled at the end of Far From Home could be the new Baxter building for the Fantastic Four on our 616 Earth. Which, yeah, our Earth is also now classified as 616, which before it was like 1999, 99, 99. That just doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well. Bruce Campbell, that is in all of Sam Raimi's films, makes an appearance as the pizza ball guy, later coming back for the post-credit scene as well. 838 Strange's plaque gives him the title of Earth's mightiest hero, which is commonly used to refer to the Avengers. When meeting this Earth's Mordo, we get a callback to the 2016 film's post-credit scene that showed him going around taking out all of the sorcerers. Come to find out, this movie was originally going to open with Wanda brutally murdering him, basically ending that story arc altogether. Maybe not a direct X-Men reference or one at all, but when Sarah sacrificed herself to destroy the Darkhold, she turned into a stone-like figure, which immediately reminded me of Darwin's death back in X-Men First Class. We're introduced to Mount Wundagore, which is the mountain that originally had the Darkhold carvings in it, and is home to the author Chthon, who could have cursed Wanda in this reality. 838 Christine reveals that they are within the Baxter Foundation, our first indication that we are about to see Reed Richards if you were listening closely. And then with the biggest reveal of the movie, we're introduced to the Illuminati, which are loosely based on the lineup from the comics. Essentially, they are the ones designated to make the hard decisions for the greater good. Most notably, Black Bolt is played by Anson Mount, which is the exact same actor from the Inhuman series that sadly flopped and until this point was kind of left in the dark. He's in an extremely comic accurate suit. And after that we meet Mr. Fantastic, played by John Krasinski, which has been a popular fan cast for years now. And through that introduction of the teleporter, it can be compared to the TVA teleporters, which would make sense considering a version of Kang is actually a descendant of Reed Richards. So this may be setting up a potential reveal down the line. Reed introduces us to the idea of incursions, where different Earths collide with only one being destroyed or both. This could be leading us down the path of secret wars, where multiple variants of the heroes we know fought for their survival of their worlds. This was briefly explained by He Who Remains in the Loki series. A variant of Kang and Mr. Fantastic being related could be further supported by the fact that we now know, at least this version, does have a wife and kids. And then lastly, we meet Professor X, played by Patrick Stewart, just like in the original X-Men films, who is, like we said earlier, seems to be playing, or at least a version of, one from the animated show, considering his suit and hover chair are taken directly out of that series, along with the classic theme song playing during his introduction. I think the 7th chair is probably for Namor or Black Panther. I'm leaning a little more towards Namor, since Gargantos is one of his villains, or Shumagorath, whatever you want to call him. One of the writers for the film has even confirmed that they couldn't use him since Marvel already has other plans. Professor X says the same line from X-Men Days of Future Past about stumbling and losing your way, which doesn't mean he's playing the same character from those movies, but I guess it is possible that that's where he could have ended up. The rubble trapping 838 Wanda is just like what her and Pietro were trapped under when that Stark bomb hit them. And the TV plays the first episode of WandaVision on it, showing just how important that series is to this movie and Wanda's journey to this overall breaking point. There's also callbacks to the What If series through Wanda kind of looking like a zombified version of her, as well as the melting design of the world going through the incursion. You can see the director's signature card that he puts in every film floating throughout this reality as well. Sinister Strange talks about how he lost, which is never further explained upon. However, he could have been referring to his world's incursion, which may be what the 838 Strange had caused by accident. Which would make sense because he never further explained it either. And along those lines, we hear that Strange had a sister named Donna before he battles with the Sinister Strange, whose magic is now purple and fueled by the Dark Dimension. And although impaled, Sinister Strange's third eye opens, either indicating that he is still alive, or just potentially leading into the post-credit scene. Doctor Strange makes another statement all of the Stranges do by saying, "This is the only way," showing more on how they all see their decisions as calculated risks for the fate of the multiverse. At the end, when Wanda destroys everything, you can see a flash of red light, showing that she may have saved herself somehow. And Strange actually bows to Wong once he accepts that things have changed, and by the end of the film learns that it's time to move on in order to be happy. He also comes to terms about not being able to be with Christine, and that he can be happy if he moves forward, hence why he finally fixes the watch. The movie has an overall theme of balancing sacrifices with the pursuit of true happiness for both Wanda and Strange's emotional journeys. The film ends with Strange getting his third eye, just like his Sinister variant, which may be a direct result of his time using the Darkhold as a sort of long-term curse. And then in the post-credit scene, we meet Clea Strange, a love interest to Doctor Strange, and even his wife down the line. And that's everything I could find during my viewing of the movie. I'm sorry if I sound a little stuffy and unenergetic. I've got this weird cold going on. But what did you think? Did you like the MCU's first horror movie? What didn't you like? And that's that. See ya.